As tempting as it is to sit back, relax, and enjoy a constantly changing, beautiful view of the deep blue sea, along with the stars at night, it can be just as enticing to wander through the interior of the ship, knowing there are endless amounts of services. Cruise services will tempt you to use your cruise credit card because you're on vacation and you deserve it. Who needs to keep track of spending now? I'll worry about it at the end of the trip. But I want to protect you from a last day filled with regret and long lines at the guest services counter after reading your bill statement. Unplanned surprises or plans made in advance have had the promise to become highlights on many of our trips. I wouldn't book excursions through the cruise line. Don't book your excursions through the cruise line just because it feels good to have an agency or service to unload the stress off your shoulders. In my eyes, there's limited upside with booking excursions through the cruise line. They'll charge you much more than it would cost for you to explore on your own. All they do is save you the time and effort of planning. As you gain more experience in trip research, you'll become more effective and efficient. It'll become second nature to be in control of your experiences. It's also good to eliminate the regret over how your itinerary turned out to be because you left it up to someone else to take charge. However, if you don't want to plan your day and you can afford to overspend for your adventures, then let the cruise line pick the tour company or the itinerary. I feel the day tours booked through the cruise are rather generic. I much prefer to customize my day to be one I and all others involved will rave about. Ready to try it? Before the cruise, have a discussion with people you know who visited these locations before and ask about guides they may have used for research. Also ask them about the sites and activities they enjoyed the most. Borrow travel books from your local library that focus on your ports of call, look up pricing, and call the contact number of the desired excursion listed to ask the questions ahead of time before your financial commitment. Remember that at most ports, as you disembark the ship, there will be guides, taxis, and transportation rentals waiting for hire at significant savings. Stick to water, and water's free. That's one of my pieces of advice. It's free, so is iced tea, fruit juice, lemonade, tea, and coffee from all the dining areas. Water is the healthiest and most hydrating drink, which will serve you well while you're busy exploring, exercising, dancing, sunbathing, and walking the endless halls and stairs of the ship. The drink packages offered by the cruise lines are too expensive, and you immediately feel obligated to drink massive quantities of soda and alcohol to make the drink package feel like a good purchase. They're making a fortune, and you're just dehydrating your body of necessary fluids. If you want the occasional drink, definitely just pay for it. It will surely be less expensive doing that than being tied to a package. Unplug if you can. Phone use on cruises can get quite expensive. Unless you're on call for work back home, need to keep in touch with babysitters, dog sitters, relatives in case of emergency, that would make it understandable to need your phone handy, but life gets pretty pure when you unplug from the internet and social media. I have found amazing experiences in my life to occur when I couldn't use Wi-Fi and cell phone reception. Instead, I had quality face-to-face communication with those whom I met on trips who were also not staring at their phones. Therefore, I rarely spend money on the insanely expensive Wi-Fi packages offered. It's another area they make a lot of money on. They are counting on your potential addiction to stay plugged in. If you'd like a cruising experience where you're present at the moment, get the most out of interacting with those around you, and take part in what your vacation has to offer, I urge you to leave your emails, baggage, and everyday home life behind for the duration of your trip. If you really need it for emergencies, get the smallest package offered, possibly a 60-minute package for the entire voyage. Is it really necessary to eat at a specialty restaurant when the free dining room and buffets offer so much food variety? If you can resist the temptation, avoid eating at the specialty restaurants on board unless there's a cuisine you cannot get in your local area. The cruise lines make a lot of money when you give up a meal that is included in the cost of your cruise. Then you have to incur an additional upcharge to dine in the specialty venues. It's a win-win for them, not so much for you. If you want variety, there are plenty of options on board between the buffet, room service, poolside cafes, and the dining room. What more do you need than a meal that includes soup and salad, appetizers, an entree, dessert, coffee or tea to put you in a food coma afterwards? I'm friends with many of my previous waiters and waitresses and keep in touch with them to this day. It's atypical for my local restaurants, and I don't have to worry about the bill. On a cruise, you can have whatever you wish to eat from the menu in unlimited quantities, especially if you treat your waitstaff well. You will not need to keep explaining your dietary needs and necessities to new staff at the different eating venues, and you can relax and just embrace the options included in the price of your cruise instead of paying loads more to eat elsewhere. Give your wallet a vacation too. Keep it in the safe in your cabin. I find the menus to be more than diverse enough to give me culinary satisfaction throughout the trip. If you can get to a cruise port with no need to get on a plane, you'll open up the door to having a good chance to finding the best cruise deal within 90 days before a cruise. Why? The cruise lines always try to fill every cabin, and they'll lower the cost just before embarkation if that's what it's going to take to sell you getting on board. Remember, they're not just trying to fill the cabin. They also want you to buy the drink package, the Wi-Fi package, and eat at the specialty restaurants. Why did I say 90 days before? When people make a cruise reservation in advance, the cruise line wants final payment 90 days before leaving. If you don't pay up, the cabin opens because of cancellation, and they'll need to scramble to sell it at that point. Cancel the prepaid tips the cruise line imposes on you. Some last thoughts on cruising have to do with showing appreciation for the staff members on board. They've made me smile, they've answered my questions with kindness, accommodated my food allergy, chatted on a personal level, helped me maximize my workouts on board, and they've delivered that extra shampoo bottle. I prefer to control how much and to whom I give my tips and cancel those automatic prepaid tips that the cruise line imposes on you. My point is not to stiff anyone. I want to tip my people, those who I got to interact with on my cruise stay. And many passengers aren't aware that this is an option. You can go right to the service desk and request to cancel the automatic prepaid tips. And just to rehash this, I don't advocate doing this to get out of tipping the staff. I encourage you to be generous with everyone who made your trip special. Tips should be given for service received, and those who are outstanding should be compensated accordingly. The service desk can provide you with tip envelopes, and you can provide your tips on the final day or two of your cruise. Shopping. The cruise is hoping you spend a lot of your free time walking around the ship shopping for souvenirs for other people. Are you sure people really need souvenirs from your trip? Don't get me wrong, purchases for yourself to remind you of your wonderful trip is a great idea. But others who are not there, they may not need that required gift. And I say required in quotes. Use that money on ports of call for food and souvenirs for yourself and whoever's on board with you. Remember, the goal of cruise line management is for you to spend all day and all night long. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any fun and let loose. Finally, if you stick to some or all of these strategies, you'll save enough money to afford 2 of these cruises for the price of 1 and have the same fantastic experience.
How do the men get back up?
The mini lorry take the basket, and the mini bus take the men up there. But years ago, they carry on in the walk up there.
Wow.
Sometimes we have accident this place